goes towards Alden Roy, brilliant save indeed! Walsh has scored! Leicester City are in dreamland now! Vardy in the middle, this could be a huge moment! Vardy scores! And it's pandemonium in Leicester!
Mahrez with his left, Albrighton with his right, it is Mahrez, it's a good ball in, Morgan's there, it's in! Leicester City score! It is a captain's goal from Wes Morgan, who lifted the Premier League trophy in May. He might have played a big part now in taking Leicester City through to the quarter-finals of the Champions League.
Lift the trophy to the skies! Leicester City are the champions of the Premier League! 5,000 to 1.
Good evening and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses for the Midfielders edition of Scouting Report. We had the Strikers edition, the Forwards edition last week with some very interesting names indeed, and the people in the comments were getting their own picks in as well, which was brilliant. So we want the same tonight. You know, we're going to talk about our picks, but please get your comments in the live chat and we'll bring them up. Before we get into everything, let's say hello to the lads. Manny, what's going on?
Yeah, evening. How you doing? All good. Looking forward to the show and hopefully finding a few hidden gems that we keep going on about and just enjoying my nice casual cool drink from my...
Whoa!
G-Mug.
Look at that!
Do you know
Does your coffee taste better now?
Drinks just taste better in this mug for some reason. I just don't know how that happens.
Wow.
What a nice, refreshing, cooling drink I'm having this evening as well. So, you know where to get yours.
That is brilliant. That is
How's
brilliant.
my plug, boys?
I was going to say, well, now because you've done that, I'm going to come to Doc in a sec. Before we come to Doc, then yeah, of course, while we're here, a little plug there. So if you do want a mug like Manny's, yeah, if you do want a mug like Manny's, then yeah, feel free to head to bluetintedglasses.com. There we go, bluetintedglasses.com, and there's plenty of stuff. There's mugs, there's a tumbler, and there's these lovely t-shirts. There's a fast twitch fibers, which we might be discussing a little bit tonight. There'll be a duck one soon as well. All sorts. Duck, talking to ducks, quack quack. What's going on, mate? How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm a bit nervous not for the scouting report. Final exam before summer break tomorrow. It'll be good. I can't wait to get it over with. So, you know, I'm buzzing. I'm excited to get going. And yeah, I mean, I think there's some great midfielders here. Some maybe more outrageous than others, but I'm looking forward to it.
As Ethan says, coffee from the BTG mug allegedly makes your fibers twitch faster.
Allegedly.
Also, a bit of housekeeping as well before we get started. You might have seen my tweet earlier on, but the Football Content Awards, the nominations are now open, and we're focusing on the Best New Content Creator Awards. So if you do enjoy watching BTG and you do enjoy the content, then please head over later on to the Football Content Awards. Click that big nominations now open, and why not nominate us? Who knows what will happen? Who knows what will happen? If you, like I said, if you enjoy it, then please head over there and drop a nomination if you can. Okay, are we ready, lads? Are we ready to get started? So just before, I was going to say, you know, like I said at the start, last week, I think it was a very productive video. We thought of some really good names, and having prior knowledge of what is about to unfold tonight, there are a couple of very good, exciting names here. There are a couple of stinkers, though, and I'm including one of mine in there as well. Not stinkers, that's maybe a little bit harsh, but...
different than what you'd normally expect, right?
Yeah, not the hidden gem. Not a hidden gem.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have a wide variety of options, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So let's get started. Go on, Dot. Let's hit slide number 1, mate, and let's see who we're going to be talking about first. Josh Brownhill. Now, look, English football fans, Leicester fans, other fans that we have followers will know Brownhill very well, of course, because he's been in the English leagues for a long time. And as you can see here, his valuation currently is 14 million, but he is a free agent this summer. So that contract is expiring on the 30th of June, and he is yet to sign with anybody, sign with Burnley, whatever. Last season, of course, dropped down to the Championship with Burnley, 18 goals and 6 assists from midfield. A good return. Similar. I don't know what was Dewsbury Hall's return last season. Was it pretty similar? Just maybe a bit more.
I think it was
assists?
a bit more all round. He had more assists,
Yes.
if I recall correctly, but around the same goal contributions.
Yeah. So there are obviously downsides to this guy, like there are with all of the ones we'll talk about tonight. There will be a couple of cons, and this one, of course, is that he has not performed to anywhere near this level in the Premier League in the past, and that is something to think about for us, for the club, if they were ever to look at Josh Brownhill. And talking of looking at Josh Brownhill, they were actually interested in him last summer, and I think even the summer before. We have been linked with him a couple of times in the past, so they are clearly keen on him. But as I said, Premier League statistics and all of that do let him down slightly. Before we go to the next one, let me just ask you, Doc, what are your initial thoughts, mate, on Josh Brownhill?
I mean, I think on a free, it very much depends on the wages, right? I mean, we'll come on to this. I have an older fella in one of mine as well. And the thing is, when a squad is built, right, we want these young, exciting players, but we want some routine that they can lean upon and they can call upon to be there with them. And I think just Brownhill for the Championship would be brilliant at that. Do I think he could step it up to the Premier League level? He showed he couldn't last time around. Let's see if he, extends with Burnley and gets another go at that. But I mean, I think he'll give us good midfield depth. The fact that he can play offensively as well, because DM's not quite the area we need. But, we've got a great attacking midfielder, El Kanous, but he'll likely leave, right? And I think it's something where we could maybe get another buddy in to help Jeremy Monga in the number 10 role.
I was going to say, just before I come to Manny as well, the reliability, the reliability of this data. I'm not on the left graphic there. I'm not sure on, but according to this, he did play 18 games last season from a more defensive midfield position, which is quite impressive considering he got 18 goals. Third, joint second top goal scorer, I believe, in the Championship. But as you can see, he can kind of play all the way through the middle there for the 6, the 8, the 10. Obviously, there's a shadow striker listed there. But yeah, Manny, talk to me on two things, mate. Number one, the player, and number two, the profile. I'm classing those as two different things because I know that you have strong feelings on the profile in terms of his age and things like that.
He's a decent player, and he's had an exceptional season for him. There's no doubt about that. But he's what I would call a football in-betweener. Not the comedy show, but a football in-betweener. He's too good for the Championship, but he's not exceptionally good in the Premier League. He's going to be in a relegation battle. He's that kind of level. So I would say, on that basis, I would avoid him, because I know where the ceiling is with Josh Brownhill, and I know what you're going to get, and it's not going to be convincing that we couldn't find other alternatives that could grow into exceptional players for us. So rather than having him for the Championship, where he would do an excellent job, he would, there's no doubt, but he'd also block the progress of one of the younger players that I would like to bring in. And this is another one of those examples we keep talking about. Let's give the youth a chance. Let's give them options. When you start assigning 29-year-olds on pretty big wages, especially for the Championship, then you are blocking the development of that youth player. So it's just not my kind of profile. Although as a player, there's no doubt that he's a decent player. He's just not one of those that I would look at.
I'll say to this, though, I think it's important when you build a squad to have a balance where you have a few players who, not necessarily because they're on more money, but because they're more experienced, that the younger people can learn from, right? If you're Jake Evans, you spent last season learning under Jamie Vardy, love to learn under him, right? If you could get someone in who's not just here to already be one of the best players on the pitch in the Championship, but also for a year or two.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Teach the youth before they then, over the course of the season, start picking up more and more
I agree
games.
with that. I agree with that completely. But we've already got several of those in the squad. We've got Ricardo, we've got Cody, we've got Vestergaard, we've got Winks, we've got
when the window is
Ayew, we've got Cordova Reed. We've already got 6-7 of these players. I don't want to add to that list.
Look, Manny, the thing is, what I'm saying is, how many do you want to be here at the end of the season? I don't want Vestergaard to be here. I don't want Cody to be here. Ricardo is great to learn from. I think Ayew should stay as well. He'll be a squad option on his last year. I don't think Cordova Reed should be here. You could see recently on the Instagram of Abdul Fattahu, him training under his Jamaican teacher, Cordova Reed, right? So I think we could use one of those in the midfield, because do I want them to learn from Oliver fucking Skip, mate? No, I mean, I don't think just Brownhill is the perfect option for that. I think I have a better option who would also be brilliant in the championship. But I'm just saying, you need someone who can be the leader, who can be the culture bearer, who sets the standard. And teaches to the youth.
Can we just fast forward 2 years ago when we went down last time? This
Rewind,
is exact rewind. Sorry, yes, that's what I meant. Sorry. But it's exactly the same thinking that got us Harry Winks. Similar age, similar experience at the top level games. He's the guy who's going to help the younger ones in. In the end, when we get to the Premier League, that player becomes a problem because they're on big wages. They're not performing to the level that you want to. And in Harry Winks' case, there's obviously been some external issues. But this is just repeating the errors of the past, but we're doing it again, and we're using the same reasoning they used last time to buy your Codys and your Winks. The actual successes we had when we went to the Championship last time, real successes where the value of the player wasn't too much, what they were delivering was excellent, and there's a resale value, was Fatawu, Mavididi and Madsen Manson. So they're the kind of players that I would look at, the younger ones where they can perform at the level. We didn't need... I didn't really see anybody particularly helping Abdul Fatawu. Just give him the football. He doesn't need people to tell him how to beat him, man. He can do it already. So, I don't like this notion that we need too much experience. We've already got a lot of experience. And
no
Duck
one's
is
saying
right.
that, though, are they? No one's saying too much experience.
But we're not going to be able to shove a lot of our experience out. Realistically, we're not going to be able to get 5 or 6 of them off the books.
No, I think 3 or 4.
If we did... Yeah, okay, but then we've still got 3 or 4 in the squad. And when you look at, say, Brighton or Bournemouth, they've only really got 2 or 3 of those experienced pros to kind of lead the way and set an example. I don't think you need any more than 2 or 3 in your entire squad, and we've already got 6 or 7. So I don't want to make that number even higher.
I can see Manny's point. I think they are very fair, and Josh Brownhill is definitely not one for the future, right? I wouldn't be against the signing. I think it would be a fine bit of business, and depending on the contract, of course, like a 3-year deal here on massive wages would be disastrous. But if he's willing to go on a fair amount, 20, 30 grand a week maybe, and he'll get a 1-year deal.
Well, we check this though. He's on. Doug, guess what he's on right now at Burnley in the Championship?
I've got no clue.
Have a guess. What would you think?
40k, 50k.
Correct. So on a free transfer, he's not going to take a wage reduction, is he? And he's with Premier League offers. We know that in order to attract those kind of players, you have to give them an even bigger contract. That's why Connor Cody got so much in wages to come down a level.
Then we don't sign him. I think that's something you have to look at when you look at the character of the culture bearer you're bringing in.
Yeah.
Because if they want the ludicrous wages, well, I'm not sitting here to just be a good fella to the younger guys for a year or two. If you're on 80 grand a week, Connor Cody. So I think there is more to it. I just think you shouldn't blankly write them off because they could contribute if everything lines up, right? You have to make sure it's the right move for all parties.
I think it's one of those where we need to get out of the habit of paying big wages in the Championship. It's not just the fact that the players don't necessarily deliver what you want for that kind of money, but it becomes a PSR limitation when you go up. And so no more contracts above 40 grand a week. Like the legacy contracts are remaining. They're the problems we can't shift off our books. So don't exacerbate the problem and start dishing out more big contracts to old players. We've been down this road. Bertrand, Winks, Cody, Vestergaard, Ayew, Cordova, Reeds. These are players that we're going to struggle to shift. And on the transfer market, they're not really worth a lot of money. So I know it seems like a good deal for free. And from a value point of view, if you wanted him just for a season or 2, then I kind of get it. But he's probably going to want a 3 or even a 4-year deal. So in the years 3 or 4, he becomes a problem round us. And again... There's other players that we will see later that I think are better options.
I think we can all agree that if he wanted 4 years and 80 grand a week, we wouldn't sign him. None of us would take him on that money. It's all on the assumption that he wants a fair amount of wage and he'll do maximum of 2 years. And then I would be happy to add him to the squad.
Personally, sorry, Doug, I was just going to say, personally, I feel like this specific debate with Manny is irrelevant because I think if we said to Manny, 2-year deal, 40k a week, he would still say no. Am I right, Manny?
I would.
Depends on. I would say depends on the outgoings. Depends on how many of the old boys we can shift off. Because I personally want a change of leadership in our club, also on the pitch, right? Who are the on the pitch leaders? Ricardo needs to be one of the center stones of that, or cornerstones for that next season, I think.
But what you can't do is look at the player just in isolation. Like, we're looking at the clips of Josh Brownhill now, and he like I said, I've never said he was a bad player or anything. He's a good player. But in that spot, somebody else could come in And what job could they do? And we're seeing clips of Josh Brownhill right now. Later in the show, we'll come to clips of other options. And we'll let you guys decide what you think might be more dynamic, might be more suitable. But again, when you're making signings, it's not just about what they deliver on the pitch. It's what they can help you deliver off the pitch too. Meaning that one day when they do leave, that you would ideally like them to leave having made a nice tidy profit off them, and you rinse and repeat, and that's how your club gets healthier in the long term.
Yeah.
Too much, we're burning up money on wages. You know, our wage to ratio was so high because we gave out these big contracts, and it's not just the 60, 70 granders that do you. It's the 35s where you know, Danny Ward's on 50, Alex Smithies was on 35. These 35, 40Ks accumulate and they kill you too. So we've got to be so particular about it. That's all.
Although obviously we all agree the wage structure at the club has been horrible. So let's move on to the next player. And is this one of yours, Lux, or is this
Manny? This is all Manny's. This is all Manny's.
Let's see then. Let's hear.
Right, he's a 22-year-old. Again, massive ceiling. He's at Rapid Vienna in the Austrian league. I think we're going to bring up some stats that have been kindly sent over to via King, Fox and Anil.
Yeah.
The guy can do a bit of everything. He can tackle, he can attack, he can create. His passing is bang on. His speed is good. His vision's good. He's 22. He's going to cost, I think he's rated at 6. So you're probably looking at something like 8 to 10 million pounds, which is a big expenditure. I understand that.
That would be a key signing in the Championship, I think.
I think what I would look to do is if we could offload one of our players. So, I always seem to pick on the poor guy. But I would sell Oliver Skip and replace him with this guy.
Well, we have one guy who is going to be leaving, Manny. We believe, and it's Wilfred Ndidi.
Wilfred Ndidi, yeah, that's true.
Wilfred Ndidi, and Harry Winks. I'd like to see all three of them go, to be honest. And that space that opens up, right?
Yeah, and if you look at his numbers in the league that he's playing on, he's dominating at that young age. He's broken into the national team, so he's playing alongside other fantastic players. You've seen the clips, Logs. What do you think?
Well, we're going to bring them up now. Yeah.
I mean, he's a Mali international, and don't forget that N'Golo Kante himself was of Mali descent. He's fast twitch fibre. He's a left-footed player, which is something that I think we don't speak about enough. The Dewsbury Hall loss as a left footer for balance really does upset things, I think. So it'd be nice to have more left footers in the attacking areas. Again, I know he's being cheeky with the comment, but it's not about speed over distance. It's about speed in small areas, tight spaces. That's what fast twitch fibres is. Although I would just use the word pace, but there's a key difference between the two. And if you look, whether it's on good pitches, bad pitches, different positions on the pitch, and advanced areas, but now look, he's defending, he's willing to get stuck in and make a tackle. He's almost a box-to-box player who can, again, as you can see, he can defend, but then he can transition that defence into attack. And with the game being so much about transition these days, that you can see there, look, he wins the ball, boom, nice simple layoff on that occasion, but he's a bit more cultured than just doing it like Wilf does. So I think he's got a higher ceiling in the attacking areas. One to very much keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, looks to have the ability to drive the ball forward as well, right? Which is something I'm certainly looking at in the midfielders I've had as well, or one of them at the very least, to take the ball from one area of the pitch and move it quite far forward and really initiate the attack, right? I think it's something we will be missing when Soumaré is gone, and we've been missing it with Dewsbury Hall gone, because that's what they did as these offensive aides, right? Who did stuff from, you could say, the beginning of the pitch until the final third, really. And something who could have those responsibilities would be great to see.
Well, we you know, Doc's right, any money. Like we have, when Dewsbury Hall left, that is the type of player that we missed. I'm not saying that those two are the same types of players, but with regards to what they do and what they can do in terms of picking a ball up, like you said, quite deep, moving it forward, either laying someone off or just running with it, charging forward. We saw Dewsbury Hall do that a lot last season in the Championship. And as I said, with Winks in the team and Skip in the team, we have lacked that, and this guy would bring it.
Absolutely. And you saw Dewsbury Hall, his energy, almost, you know, to the very last minute of the match, he's forward, he's back, he's up and he's down. He gives you so much relief in defence, takes a lot of the workload off those players, and he contributes in attack. Having that engine, having that ability with the ball, and having those raw characteristics, massive. I'm convinced that this guy is going to go on to have an excellent footballing career. He'll end up at a very decent club soon enough. And the question is, can we grab him? Do we believe in the talent? does he? Obviously, the one caveat is I don't know about any of the off-pitch stuff. I don't know about his character. I don't know what kind of person he is. But the one thing you can say from a lot of the African players is that they're very pleased to be playing football in Europe and at such good levels and relatively earning good money. So I would imagine that a dream like moving to Leicester would be pretty high up on his list, even in the Championship.
Doc, if it lets you, mate, if you can just go back one, yeah, here we go. So I just want to, for people who are either listening or just can't see very well. So, in comparing him to the other midfielders in the Austrian Bundesliga, so I'm just going to say the stats is sliding tackles first, pre-assist first, passes completed second, aerials duel won second, touches second, successful dribbles second. Offensive duels won second, passes third, short passes completed third, long pass accuracy third, accurate passes to final third, interceptions third, progressive actions third, and pass completion fourth. So, they are very impressive stats there, Doc, mate. And I know we know it's not all about the clips and it's not all about these data, but put them together, it's quite clear that there's a player there.
Yeah, I in particular really like the progressive carries, right? A ball carry, especially someone like Soumaré has it in bits, right? We saw it a few times this season. Think back to the Ipswich equaliser. That kind of player who can win the ball defensively and then say, screw it, I'm running 20 yards up the pitch and even more to bring it back into attack. I like that, and I think it's something we will need in the Championship when we on transition. We'll try and turn it around. But let's move forward a bit, right? Is there anything more on the?
Can you just bring up that point that Josh just put up? Can you just bring that up again?
Austria, yeah. I think you're gonna. Why don't just do me a favour as well, Manny? Because some people don't know what you mean by fast twitch fibers as well. Sometimes, can you just compare why Daka, in your eyes, doesn't have fast twitch fibers, even though he's really fast?
Fast twitch fibers, the way that I'm trying to explain it, is being able to execute a high speed. So Daka has raw high speed, but his first touch is horrible. Travelling with the ball is horrible. And at the end of the point, when he does get the run, normally the final shot is 50-50. It's either half decent or absolutely horrific. So he doesn't have the fast twitch fibers by my definition because he doesn't have the control at the higher speeds. And in a tight situation, say if Daka was surrounded by a defender behind him on his back and then midfielders coming towards him, he can't navigate out of his way in tight spaces because he doesn't have that close control. So close control is very much a fast twitch fibre element. And the difference between this guy and, say, a Patterson Daka, apart from the position, obviously, is that his ability to control the ball at the speed, whereas Daka cannot.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say to this is I think he looked, the numbers and both the video do look very good. If our scouting recruitment thinks he can be, a big part of the future also into a promotion for the Premier League, he's expensive, right? For the budget I think we have, again, our budget depends on how much we sell, how many players we get out, how much we recoup on someone like maybe Winks or Soumaré or whatever. It would be a big part of our budget, but I think it's a position where, depending on how much you sell, you can defend spending that much money on.
But you're spending like £8-10 million. There's two ways to look at it. You can look at it as an expenditure that you're going to have to outlay that money, but you have to cater for different contingencies. So if the guy fails and he's horrible and it's too cold for him and he doesn't like the culture and he can't adjust, and we have to sell him on. Now, you're going to be able to sell a 22, 23-year-old guy who plays national level for Mali for a relatively low fee. His wages are low fee. You can sell him on. You might take a 50% hit, which is, in this case, say £3-4 million. But what if he actually does progress like you think he might do? Then the ceiling is 50 and beyond, depending on how well he does do. If people think that's silly, by the way, I'm sure when Brighton signed Moises Caicedo from $5 million from Ecuador, people went, this guy, not going to be much. How much did they sell him for? 110. So those players are out there. Obviously, the key thing is, can you identify the right player with the right character and the rest of it? But certainly, from the limited data that we do have, without looking at sort of professional sites like Y-Scout and other places, that this boy looks a very, very talented one.
I'll say, Manny, of course, 8 million in the grand scheme of things, you couldn't think is that much. But we're really struggling with PSR, and depending on how much we sell, we might just have a budget of 10 million. I think you potentially could defend spending it on this guy, but I think it all depends on the outgoing, which area. Like, it's too hard to say at this point if we can afford to spend 8 or 10 million on this guy,
And
because we don't have the ability to spend the money, Manny. Like even if you think it's a good investment, which I think is very easy.
This is why I caveated at the beginning by saying that I understand that we don't have the raw, like we can't just go out and buy this guy tomorrow because we don't have the raw funds. So when we are at the moment we're assuming that Winks and Skip are going to be here for the Championship, I think we could probably get 5 or 6 million for Harry Winks. I think we could get 8 to 10 million for Skip. I would happily sell both of those guys who are on much bigger wages than this guy would be on, and I would prefer to go forward with this guy over those two. So it'd be a straight swap. You know what
the best part is? The most interesting part as well, I find, is like there's a comment here from Josh. I'd rather a gamble like this than on Oliver Skip. And the best part is we're not even saying this because we're in the Championship, right? Like last season,
I would have same for sure.
Exactly. Last season, if it was this guy or Skip, people would have said this guy. Like we would have said this guy 100%. But obviously, we just ended up with Skip. That was it. This is what you get, and that's it. So, but yeah, just talking about the investment as well. Like we know it's not going to be a 100% money in, 100% money out kind of process it's not, this summer. Yeah. However, if let's say you get 9 million for Wilfred Ndidi. And then you get 20 for Bilal El Kanous, and then you get whatever for
8 more for Sumari. You get 8 for Christiansen as well. 8 for Outcast. Like all of a sudden, don't
forget the wages too. Like even like this guy's, you're probably going to pay this guy 25 grand a week. And you're now taking, say, a Winks who is on 40% off, who's going to be on 55 grand a week in the Championship. You're saving yourself 30 grand a week, which is £1.5 million a year for the next 3 years. You're saving yourself £4.5 million in wages, and you're buying this guy for 10. So actually, you're paying net 5.5 across the 3 years. But the difference is Winks' resale value is nada or minimal. This guy's resale value is likely to be pretty damn decent. So the wages that you save by selling one of the more experienced guys from our squad, even if it was a Cordova Reed, get him off your books. You save yourself 40 grand a week. You save 15 grand a week off the 25. So it pays for sort of a third, 30-40% of the transfer fees, depending on which individual you select.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Obviously, I think it's just we'll see how much we sell for. And we have to remember the PSR limitations will be smaller and smaller the more time we spend in the Championship, right? Which also means that all of a sudden next year we have 20 million less we can afford to lose. And it does tighten the rope a bit. We'll see what happens with the transfers, because until at this point, it's just pure speculation, right? But we're moving on to my 2 recommendations now. I had a few main goals in mind. I think I want an offensive-minded midfielder, one of these offensive 8 at a bit of Dewsbury Hall profile maybe, who could carry the ball forward. At the very least, one of the guys can do that. I think either one who can take on his man, and I have one as well who I think can break open the deep blocks, like someone like El Kanous can with one smart ball, because we will be playing against teams who can sit deep and who can really annoy us, and we need that one midfielder who can just, in Denmark you'd say a sugar ball, a ball that just perfectly cuts them open. And I've looked at free signings only this time, because last time I went for people who cost money, despite actually mentioning someone who's now going to go on a free to Premier League football in Lucas Nemecha, who I didn't commit to fully. But my first one, Robert Navarro. I believe he's 23-year-old, playing in Spain for... I can't remember if he sold from Real Sociedad or on loan and his contract just expires. But his contract is up. That's all I really care about. And I have a few bits from him. I've included a video as well on the same slide. He can also play out on the wing. So in terms of an injury crisis, he could come in there and replace. The thing I really like from his numbers and from the highlight video as well, it's its ability to take on a man. He is really, he seems quick and agile, low center of gravity really in many of these highlights as well. He does give me a bit of KDH vibes. His defensive numbers aren't as good, though, and that's something that could be worked on. And I think one of the weaknesses for him was his output. While he does so many things correct, the last inch really was missing, right? Placing the ball perfectly or finding the finish, because at multiple times, I think he looked really, really good. We'll let this run for a bit while we talk about him, but he's available on a free. He was only on 13k a week, so maybe 20k a week for him. He has resale value because one, we get him in on a free. His wages wouldn't be too much, and I feel like from what I could see at the numbers and what every single video I've seen from him tells me is, I see a bit of a rough player, but trim the edges, learn him, improve the finishing a bit, improve the tackling a bit, and all of a sudden you have a really good player, because I think he has so many of the qualities we will need in the Championship.
I was going to say, Duck, as well, like, because people might reference the output there, 1 goal, 0 assists, but you've got to remember, like, you look at a player like Bilal El Kanouche, his numbers aren't great at all, this season, but we know how important he was, and you take him out of our team, and somehow we're even worse than what we were. So, I don't think the numbers there, the output, mean.
I mean, look at this, right? Even if it isn't completely perfect, this doesn't turn out to be an assist, right? But you'll still be happy walking away saying my midfielder took the ball from our own, final third and carried it all the way up and gave a decent chance to our striker. He's someone who I think could be the connector between the defensive department and the more offensive ones. Or a bit like Sumari has done at time this season. He's not the best at finishing or, finding the final pass, but he'll get it into someone who can then, like a Mamadou, a Fatawu, a Manga, who then does the final bit of work. And after all the nasty work behind, running with the ball all the way up to you, where you now take the creative duties. And I think he's not bad creatively as well. He just really looks to, miss the final cutting edge. And that's something hopefully, a good coach could get into him.
How old is he, Doug?
He's, I believe, 23 only.
23.
On a free as well.
On a free?
Just turned 23. Just. Yeah.
I like 23 on a free. Low risk. Yeah. It's low risk as long as the wages aren't high. It's just low risk.
He's currently on 13k a week, right?
So if you're getting him for say 25, that's 1.25 million a year. You give him a 3-year contract. The total expenditure is going to be a £5 million 4-year deal. And if he's half decent, you're not going to lose a penny. So I don't mind that. It's low. Again, it's always about the value proposition. And he's 23, so he could have. If he's only half decent, he'll have a resale value of something. And as long as his wages aren't high, it's one to look at. The only caveat I would say is, I think this is one of those where you need to just have an idea about
as well in terms of, the ball progression is really good. But you're completely right, Manny. That's the issue with not knowing who a manager will be, right? Despite us being in the middle of June, if I knew the manager while looking at the players, well, it would be a lot easier to make sure I got a player who would fit into their system.
And this is what we said last week as well. Like this job, these videos that we're doing right now would have been a lot easier if we knew who the manager would be. But we don't, and that's why we're doing it. So, but yeah. Just quickly though, Josh says, I'm not against this. Like Manny said though, depends on style and who the manager will be. But you could say that with a lot of the players. Some of the players are probably transferable between different managers. I would actually argue that that Mamadou, your pick, Manny, is probably transferable. Doesn't really matter which manager. He could probably be utilised in many different systems. But yeah, all right, Duck, take it away, mate. Move on.
I mean, this is, I think, something that he could be realistic. I don't know if there's any suitors from bigger clubs than Leicester, people playing in other top divisions, but I think he's very realistic. And then there's one big question mark on the next guy because it's Christian Eriksen. I kind of had to. He's on a free. I know from an interview he does not want to go to Saudi Arabia. Like, he's not looking for a paycheck and just sit and go on holiday for the next few years. He's even been rumored to clubs like Ajax. He's been rumored to the city I live in, Odense, who's just moved up to the first division in Denmark again. Like, that was the number one rumor according to the Danish sports bookers. That's where he would go. So we don't know where he'll go yet. I think my best prediction right now is he'll take a year with Thomas Frank in Tottenham and just play some balls there. The thing is, though, I mean, the strength are undeniable. He would be top championship if we could get him. He would be able to, with one ball, unlock an entire defense when Preston North End is sitting 10 men behind the ball for 90 minutes. Give it to him. He'll make the pass. He'll find out Abdul Fattah making the run. He'll find whoever our striker will be making the run. He'll either just bang it top bins himself because he's got a brilliant technical package. He's unbelievable. He's great at set pieces as well. He can play both defensive midfielder and attacking midfielder. I would like him to be the attacking midfielder. He's had his big paycheck. I think he'll take a massive pay cut wherever he goes next because he doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia on a fat ass paycheck.
That doesn't mean he wants to come to the championship, though.
That's right. But he's been rumored to the Danish league. He's been rumored to the Netherlands again. If you're willing to go to those leagues, I don't think it's unrealistic to say you might go to a top end of the table championship club and win another trophy, right? He's not won too many trophies in his career, considering he's been at Tottenham for so many of them. So I think that's fair to remember as well. I
personally think this is like completely unobtainable. Completely. I get what you're saying. So. I get what you're saying, but I think he'd rather go Saudi than Leicester. Like,
I can guarantee you he'd rather go Leicester than Saudi. He's just said straight up in an interview he is by no means interested in Saudi Arabia. He doesn't want.
Yeah, but if he was asked about Leicester, I think he would have said the same thing.
Depends how many. Look, if they add another 0 to the number they're offering, he might be interested.
I don't think so. He said it multiple times. That's not what
everybody has their price tag.
What I will say though is, even if his wages would still be high, but one of the advantages of him, get him on like a 1-year deal, he would carry us up from the championship. Monka, who would then be the future number 10, the technical package he could learn from. He's a model citizen, top professional. He will be an elite culture bearer for the club because it's something that's important as well. A good, hardworking culture. He would be key to implementing that. He's someone who I would want as one of the leaders in the team alongside Ricardo, instead of someone like Connor Cody, who's hopefully going to Wolves or Rangers. He's someone I want as one of the culture bearers of Leicester City for the next year. And I think it would be unbelievable if we could get him. And I would accept him being one of the highest paid players at the club, as long as it doesn't break, as long as the contract isn't too long, and as long as it is not, ridiculous wages.
Anything else, Manny?
First thing to say, he's an absolute brilliant footballer, and has been for most of his career. Yeah, unlucky, obviously, with what happened on the pitch.
Dying on a pitch, right?
That's hard. The guy was an absolutely brilliant footballer. If you remember, I think it was the knockout game against Ireland where he got a hat-trick for Denmark.
Yep.
Absolutely ridiculous on his day. And he still does well for Man United when he plays. I prefer this to Josh Brownhill if it's a 1-year deal, which he might accept. I just don't see, he's not coming to the Championship for a year. I just don't see it. But the what I would sort of pigeonhole him as is, do you remember we signed Cambiasso for 1 year? And 1 year only, come here, do your job, and you're out the door. I don't think Brownhill would sign. He's 29. He's not going to come for a 1-year contract. But Eriksen's, 33?
Yeah, he's 33.
33. I still think he's got 4 or 5 years in his legs. Look, Luka Modric has shown a guy who doesn't require fast twitch fibres. He relies on his technical excellence.
And his technical package is brilliant.
Yeah, he's a brilliant player. There's no doubt. But like I said, I just don't think he's coming to Leicester. And there is the same issue with, although he would be brilliant and he would definitely be a key player to take you up, I still kind of like giving that young player 46 games experience of England and English football to get them ready, to help them get ready for the Premier League, rather than then, thank you, Christian Eriksen, you did your 1 year, you go out the door, and now we've got a hole where we have to take a gamble because we don't know who's going to fill it. I want to fill that hole now and give them experience.
But let's say, right, I think, you train Jeremy Monga under Christian Eriksen for a year or two, like give him another year. So he, like, I can guarantee you, if he got promoted at the first time of asking, he would still cut it as a squad player in the Premier League. His technical package is unmatched. Like, it is absolutely incredible. And he would, it would be a Cambiasso moment to sign him. But what I will say is the Danish media is obviously incredibly interested in where he is going. And, some of their favorite clubs that he would go to is Odense Boldklub, a club that's just got promoted to the Danish first tier again, where he started his career, or Ajax, where he also has been for a few years, but yes, they'll be playing Champions League football, but it'll be in the Netherlands, and they can't pay a ludicrous high wage. I think it would be a Cambiasso moment, especially because he doesn't have any sentimental reason to want to come to Leicester. But I don't think it's so impossible. I think I could defend putting him on this, saying he could end up signing for us, but it would be incredible. But I don't think it's impossible.
I think, look, if you threw out an average contract to him, but he's on what, 150 at Man United?
He'll take a pay cut where he goes next.
Well, again, but I'm going to have a hard and fast rule. No one gets over 40. No new signings get over 40. That is how you got to have discipline. This is how you get problems. Oh, let's just bend the rules for him, and then we'll bend the rules for someone else. If you have one guy who's earning, say, 80 grand in the Championship, but everyone else is earning 40, that's not conducive to good team spirit either. You've got to have some kind of consistent structure that everybody doesn't think, oh, he's here, Fancy Dan's come in for 1 year, he's the star getting all the money, and I'll do the donkey work for him, shall I? It doesn't really inspire some of those players that you believe in them, the fact that you brought him in the first place. So I like the idea. He's an excellent player, brilliant pro, smart guy. Will probably go on, I think, as Planet Earth said, as to be a decent manager one day. He's an intelligent human being. But it's just not. It just doesn't work for us. That's not our profile to buy brilliant players at the end of their career. Short of Diego Maradona coming in for one season or Messi coming in for one season, it's just not something that we should really seriously entertain.
No. I think for me it's more because we'll sell Bilal Kanous, and all of a sudden we'll have this void where I think we have interesting players who are not ready to be starting 90 minutes every game, right? I'm thinking in particular of Golding and Monka. Those two are really, really bright sparks. Have Christian Eriksen in there. He'll start most of the games. You'll learn from him, and an incredible, one of the best Danish players to ever live, right? Top appearance maker, almost top goal scorer for his country. And, he plays the first 60 minutes. When we then lead, you sub in Monka, you sub in your Goldings, and they get plenty of minutes as well. And Christian Eriksen, he would win us points almost every weekend by breaking down defense with one good pass.
Well, Lux, what do you think about Christian Eriksen?
I to be honest, my mindset really is that even if we offered him 100k a week, I don't think he'd come. And secondly, we ain't going to offer him 100k a week. So I just think it's a non-starter. I get what you're saying, Duck. You say it's not impossible, and he's turned down attractive monetary attractive offers, but I just can't ever see him. I think if somebody asked him in an interview like they asked him about Saudi, would you ever go to Leicester? I think he would probably laugh it off and say no.
I think and obviously I see myself.
Unless he's in bed with
Victor
Christiansen.
I want to say it is like 9 out of 10 on the impossible scale. That's what I'm saying. I think there is a very slight chance if everything goes right, we could get him. It would be a Cambiasso moment. It's not impossible.
I just don't understand though. If you can get £500,000 a week in the Saudi league or 40 grand at Leicester, I mean, I'm from Leicester. It's a half decent night out. You're taking £500,000 a week, my friend. You'd be insane not to. It doesn't matter how little you care about money. I just think even you'd go to probably like America, they'd pay you 80 grand a week to come to the Major League Soccer, and that would be more exciting. I just don't see him coming to the Championship.
He's made so much money throughout his career. He's a very down-to-earth guy. His kids have just started school.
That makes him want to earn more.
No, look, his kids have just started school. I think he wants to stay in England.
But what would be his motivation to come to Leicester? Do you really think that he would fancy the Leicester restart project?
Because he's not relocating to a different country, because his kids have just started school in England. He's very happy there as well. That's one of the things he also mentioned in the interview. And I think Brentford would have been an obvious option for him to go back to if Thomas Frank stayed. Thomas Frank now went.
I'll probably end up back at Spurs.
That's what I think is the most realistic option right now, to go to Spurs again and play him.
I can see. Champions League, one season. Thomas Frank used to play for them. They could probably do with some support and a bit of experience because they have bought a lot of young players. I think, but we're not in the conversation if Tottenham's in the conversation. They're playing Champions League football next season.
There is no rumour about Tottenham. That's just my personal thinking, where I think he would be a good fit next season.
Anyway, let's move on from Christian Eriksen.
Let's move back to
now.
Presentation.
I brought you Richard Kone last week, people, and now I present to you Seydouba Ciss. I have adopted one of Manny's non-negotiables on this one, and it is the fast twitch fibre. €3 million, similar price to what Kone was valued at last week when we were talking about him. Actually, I think he was even less. Kone, 24 years old, not the absolute youngest, but he is playing in La Liga, playing regularly in La Liga as well at that, and at a very good level, as in he's playing really well for them. And there are a lot of gems. There are a lot of hidden gems, or should I say, hidden gems, good prices, good value for money in Spain. In terms of the player himself, before we go to the clips, dribbling, you'll see some skills as well that he likes to unleash. Breaking lines with the ball, so he's a good passer as well. Vision, it says at the bottom there, vision. You wait till you see the clips. He has vision. He can't always find that pass, to be honest, if I'm being a little bit critical of him. But the vision is there. Ball recovery, pace that Manny absolutely loves from a defensive midfielder, something that Oliver Skip does not have. Interceptions, winning back possession is a key trait of his. Goal threat, doesn't score loads of goals, but he is actually, surprisingly, outperforming his XG. He is outperforming his XG. So yeah. Anyway, let's see the clip.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay. Now, nationality. What nationality did I say he was?
I don't know, man.
Can't remember.
Guinea.
I wasn't necessarily looking for the nationality when you were
saying. Is he from Guinea? Is he from Guinea-Bissau? There is a difference.
Guinea.
Guinea's on the fast twitch list.
Yes, it is indeed. Look at that bit of what a finish.
Ooh, I like that.
Little back heel.
Decent touch.
He is good, and he likes this little skill. He loves a ball roll, by the way. He loves
does like
a ball roll,
doesn't he? Look at that.
There you go again. Again, 2 in a row there.
Oh,
Bit of a shit
the
pass.
pass was a bit. The pass was a bit off.
And there it is
Again.
again.
It's a bit ropey. The pass is a bit ropey at the end of it.
He's someone like in FIFA, right? Who's just found out how to do one skill move he really likes and then just spams it.
There you go. There's another
Let's give
one
him
for
more
you.
of a chance. Let's see what he's like in these spots. At least he likes to go forwards with the ball. That's one thing. He's
Yeah.
not sitting there sideways. He's trying to progress.
Yes, and he's good in tight spaces as well when he gets the ball. When he gets the ball. By the way,
foot.
this isn't what vision means. Vision doesn't mean you always find the pass. Vision is you spot the pass, right? Vision, he knows where the pass is. You saw that one there, right? That one just
Yeah.
there. He saw that pass.
He has the
couldn't
vision to
quite-
see the option. He maybe just
Exactly.
doesn't always have the technical quality to fulfill it, right? No one will always hit the pass.
Look, you're right. I mean, we're looking at €3 million rated players. You're not going to have the finished article ready for PSG, who's a £50 million player who can do absolutely everything. What you're looking for with the youth side of it is somebody you can mould, you can work with, somebody who's got the raw ingredients that with practice, and better players around them, the guy can raise the level and actually become that player that you're looking for. So you've got to accept that these players are going to have some parts that they look good. Clearly, it's a highlights package. It's not designed for the player to look terrible. But what those highlights are is a different story. And then you've got to factor in the opposition, the pitches, the situation, the competitiveness. But these are all cheap gambles on low wages. It's not just the transfer fee. The wages that go with it are so low. And if any of them hit, like seriously, if you need one of our guys to hit, and you're going to see a big return on all the outlay that you do. So it's one of those where you need to scout, do your due diligence, let's find out about the guy. But, Locks is right. You do see lots of positive raw ingredients that you can work with.
I'll say
And
this.
one just quick thing before
Okay,
you
go
go,
on.
Doc, because you can take this from me. Positive fibres, and what Planet Earth clearly means by that, and I agree with, is when he does get the ball, his number one priority is get forwards, and I think that is something that we have lacked. Whether it was down to instructions from the manager or not this season, but some of our players, especially in midfield this season, when they got the ball, they weren't wanting to take it forward, whether they were too scared to take the risk or whatever. This guy wouldn't be doing that. He wants to take it forward under any circumstance, and that's what I like about him. His head is always up, looking forward.
I'll say this. I've just looked him up on the FB Ref for some information as well. His current wage is €6,000 a week. Nothing, and his contract expires in a year's time. So we should be able to get him on maybe even a cut price deal. Maybe €2 million would be enough, because they'll lose him on a free next year if he doesn't want to extend. It's a bit of speculation, but it's definitely worth remembering. What I will say, just looking at him, some of his strength, and the numbers back that up as well, seem to be very much the same as Robert Navarro, right? In particular, the take-ons and being able to carry the ball forward being their main strength by the looks of things. He looks a bit more defensive in terms of the defensive work as well. But I see similarities in them, really, in how they handle themselves with the ball, just from the small glimpses I've seen now. And obviously, that means I like the player, right? Because I like Robert Navarro enough to put him in my top two. What I will say then is to give him the edges. He's in a complete free, while he might cost a few million, but definitely not a bad option. And with 1 year remaining on the contract, well, maybe some good businessman can get a cut price deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you mentioned, just talking about the price. Pretty much what I said about Kone earlier. Risk-free in a way. Of course, it's a little bit more than what Kone was last week, but 3 million, let's just say the upper range, 5 million, let's just say that. And there's not loads of clubs looking at him right now, or they're not linked with him, should I say. I think you could get him for a fairly good price, and yeah.
Love
Okay.
a cheap gamble. And the point is, we need more than one of the. We don't just need one or two midfielders. In an ideal world, we'd probably sell all of our four midfielders. Sumare would go, and Didi would go. Obviously, Skip and Winks would go. So we might need 4 players in theory, assuming no embargo and the rest of it. So you can't just have players who are first team ready today, because not everyone's going to start all the time. You do need guys who are a bit younger, cheaper, wages, who need experience in game time. So I think it's good to look. I know it sounds like young is a word, but there is a big disparity between 17 and 24. There's literally 7 years. So I think the more experienced one, it sounds crazy, would be at the 24-year-old end, and you chuck into the squad some 17, 18-year-olds to supplement them.
Yeah. Okay. Next on the list is Mr. Moussa Baradji. Manny, take it away.
I mean, this boy, it's He's a Malian footballer. He's 24 years old. He plays in the second division of the Swiss league. And everyone's going to say, Manny has lost his mind. What is he doing looking in the second division of the Swiss league? Never mind the first. I base it on what I see with my eyes. It's super cheap. He's 24. Again, the right age, the right profile. But wait till you see how he can control a ball. Wait till you see the energy, the pace, the power, the speed, the 2 feet, the tackling, the dribbling, the shooting. Proper box to box. I've been talking about him for a week or two. We've actually already been linked with this guy. That's just full disclosure. That's how I came across him. I saw a link with us for this player. He's also been linked with, I think, Galatasaray, maybe something like that. But we have been in the conversation. So somebody at the club is probably looking at him. But when you look at the clip, it's again, look, hunger, desire, ability to make a difference, to attack there, right-footed goal. But it's the ability that he can, again, whether you need him to defend, you need him to play 8, 6, even a 4 he could probably cover. But you'll see, I know this is going to sound a bit weird, but I like to look at the size of the thighs. Sounds a bit weird. But you're looking for like a little racehorse. You want powerful legs that can drive that engine. And this guy looks like a brick, you know what's it. A real small, a kind of small pocket rocket. But again, small control, can deliver at the end of carrying the ball with speed. He's playing on some awful pitches now. There you go. First touch. Some horrible pitches make it. You need to have a better to have first touch. Left-footed wallop. How's about that for your left-footed finish? Do you see the smoothness of the swing on the left foot? Look at that. That is technique, my friends. That is how you strike a football. Left and right. And so, again, look at this hunger to win the ball back. Bang! I'm giving that ball back. Boss man, lay it off. He can attack, he can defend. For the price, I just think, I know he's playing at a low level here. I understand that. But again,
well, just to
it's
add
so low
context there,
risk.
Manny, they've just been relegated. They've only just been relegated. So some of these clips might actually be from this season.
From the first division.
Yeah. But again,
that
with
was definitely top
relegation,
division against Basel, I believe.
yeah, so with relegation, you know, he is probably more than open to a move away. So yeah,
It's one of those players that you think, okay, you're relegated, he won't be that good. But Harry Maguire got relegated. We bought him and sold him for 80 million. Andy Robertson got relegated at Hull, and they bought him, and he goes on to win the league in the Champions League. Put this boy in a lovely environment of Seagrave with better quality of footballers around him, and I think this boy has potentially a really, really high ceiling. And it could go to Champions League level and beyond. This, again, it's a value proposition. His wages are likely to be something like 15,000 a week. He'll probably be on 3 or 4 grand at the moment, so it probably wouldn't cost more than 15 for him to come over. The transfer fee is maximum £4 to £5 million, I think. It's a cheap, no good gamble for what looks to me like a highly talented, still young player.
yeah. There were a couple of comments here. Evans, another one who was relegated at West Brom, which we picked up. Thick thighs save football clubs, says Sean. Always knew Manny was a thigh man. Thick thighs save lives. This guy looks good though, man. This guy looks good. As we said, he has been
Close
linked
control.
to Leicester.
Fast twitch all the way, baby. It's just nothing I can't find, and there's lots of different teams, so it's not just, you know, like he's having the odd good game and he's done it, and then every time there's lots of shocking stuff. The caveat we probably should say at the beginning, is that all these players, it's really hard to find volumes of data, and certainly cannot find regular 90 minutes. So ideally, what a real scouting team would do is, now you've got a player on your radar, find his last 10, 15, 90 minutes and watch him religiously, and then watch it again, get multiple eyes to look at the guy, and then you interview him, find out, is he a hungry guy, or is he does he like a night out, or is he disciplined? Do all of that stuff. And I think one of the advantages, it's going to sound a bit silly, but no one really mentions it, he's from Mali, so I believe that makes him, it's an Islamic country, so he's going to be Muslim, which means he doesn't drink, so he probably doesn't like a night out at all, and will be disciplined. So a lot of things to like here.
What I will say about this as well, having seen the clips now, I think when you see a player in a smaller league, someone who watches, a smaller league in Denmark, right? You can very clearly see when they are, potential to go further. And the clips are telling that story, you could say. I mean, he looks like he knows he can do more than this league. The way, like, he so solidly and easily pulls off these moves that, shouldn't be so easy if you are struggling to keep up with the level of the Swiss Super League. So yeah, I mean, that is definitely a positive. He looks a right player.
Looks a killing machine to me. Like I said, he looks clearly, the standard he could play at is clearly higher than the Swiss League. And we could rightly ask, well, how come if he's so talented that nobody's bought him? But that happens a lot. If N'Golo Kante was 25 before anybody bought him, and it was us. He was sitting there up until 25, and nobody knew. He's best DM in history. He was sitting there, nobody bought him. Riyad Mahrez was sitting there, Le Havre, in second division, not doing a lot. 450 grand, we bought him. These gems are more and more out there. Football, particularly for certain countries, is a way to escape, your poverty, your real life situation. You can make a life for yourself. You can look after your family. So the hunger that goes with players that come from an impoverished situation cannot be underestimated. And so a lot of the players I look at are on that basis, that they're going to want it. They'll want to play for Leicester. They'll want to come here. They'll want to prove themselves. They'll want that next contract or even that next move. But if they get that next move, then we get paid.
I want to do a poll in the chat for the viewers who have just gone and sat through all of that.
Can we do some propaganda before they?
Yeah, before we do though, I want us to each, slightly different to last week, I want us to each put forward one of our picks, one of our two picks. I want us all to put forward one of them. It will go into the poll. And the viewers will vote as to who would they rather Leicester sign out of the ones we put forward. Before I will let you make your case. For your pick. I'm going to obviously put in Cisse. That's my pick. Manny, who you've got two good ones there to pick from. I think I know who the better one is, but go on, mate.
It's a real tough one to say the better one, but I would probably go with Mamadou Sangar out of the two. I think the ceiling is high. He's 2 years younger, which does make a bit of a difference. He has played at a higher standard than Baradji, arguably. Both of them very, very tight. I would love to have both. But if I had to choose one, you cannot underestimate the fact that we need a left-footed player in midfield. We don't have one. We really, really need somebody to support whoever our left winger is. So left-footed player, I'd go for him.
Doc, Christian Eriksen, Robert Navarro, which one are you choosing, mate?
I think I'm going with the more realistic option there. Despite I think Christian Eriksen is the better player, I think it has to be Robert Navarro. He looks an absolute steal for a free transfer, and I'll make my case more when we really get into that.
Go for it now, mate. Make your case. The poll is now up. People can change it and stuff.
So we're going to get a poll. So are you getting all the players recommended tonight on a poll?
No, the three. The
three favourites.
We just put forward. Yeah, the three we just put forward.
Let me make my case here. I think you should very clearly vote for Robert Navarro. We'll be in a bit of a pinch in terms of money. He is available on a free. He has a great age of 23, so guaranteed resale potential even if he doesn't work out. His wage demand aren't ludicrously high. He has a great ability to drive the ball forward. While he does need some trimming around the edges, the base package is still there, ready to be sharpened and turned into an absolute monster. He will be a steal on a free transfer, and I'm sure he would do great at Leicester, depending on if the manager wants an offensive eight.
Okay, Manny, mate, take it away. What else have you got to say about Sangar?
The way that you progress the club, regardless of the players that you identify, is you have to make money. And the best way to make money, apart from the off-field stuff, is player trading. Brighton created a £161 million transfer surplus with their sales. That's why they can progress the club. You have to find players that it's your business model. I'm going to sell this guy one day for a massive amount of cash. And when I look at the players that we have there, which of these looks to me like he could go on to be worth a significantly large amount of money, is Sangar. He has the fast twitch, he has the left foot, he's cultured, has box to box, so much room for improvement. All the raw ingredients are there. And if he can do well at Leicester, either the Championship or even do well in the Premier League, then bingo, you have got yourself the next mega sale on your hands. Rinse and repeat, and that's how you progress the club.
I'm going to really annoy you here, Doc. And this isn't me ganging up. I'm just going to say I actually think Sangar is the best pick out of the three. Mine is
the only one we can get completely risk-free. on a free transfer with that age profile, with those capabilities, and that package already there, and the possibility to just add a bit more. You saw the vision for the passes, you saw the shots, and the crosses all very good. It was simply just that shot, that final bit of cutting edge needed to take him to the next level. He's a rocket who's about to take off with the right manager. Get the right manager in. We pay £0 for him, cheap wages as well. He can go take us all the way to the moon.
I would agree with you in terms of price. Your option, Navarro, he is the cheapest option out of everything that we've discussed tonight. However, when we talk about risk and reward, there's far more reward, I think, on the table from Sangar. Like, Sangar looks like the much better player, personally, Doc. I know they're slightly different players.
Don't make your own case for your own player.
They're different. They're different types of players.
Tell me about Cisse. Tell me about Cisse, mate.
Hey, look. I would take Sangar and Cisse. They would be my two.
Oh, you got to get Baradji. Come on, guys. Did you see those? No. Did you see the guy, the explosion, the pace, the power, the two-footed?
Baradji, to me, was the best player that was shown today.
I might agree with you there, but
I'll say
that's today. What about down the line, though?
The best player is Eriksen, of course. Like that. I mean,
yeah.
But he's obviously in a different conversation, really, when you think about the realistic options and very reasonable. I think I've limited myself to free transfers. Like, I've only looked at free transfers, and I think I've come up with a brilliant candidate who I'd be disappointed if the club at the very least didn't have a look at, or maybe even ask his agent how much he's looking for in terms of wage.
Look, to be fair to Doug,
last chance, Manny, quickly. Last chance, people watching in the live chat on YouTube. If you're watching, get your vote in now in the poll. Go on, Manny.
We might be, with the transfer embargo, limited to loans and free transfers. So these kind of homework is excellent. We need to have those free transfer options and loan options as well. We haven't really done too many loans yet because we're trying to sign some permanents. But I think having done the exercise, I've actually found, I've actually got 10 midfielders on my list. I've got 6 wingers I've found, so 16 across midfield. There are options out there for relatively low money. Lots of gambles, but there's so many gambles. How many times do you spend £25 million on a player from Tottenham and it's a gamble you think that's going to be guaranteed that doesn't work out? So I would rather the low risk values. That means it's not just low transfer fee, but I reiterate again, low wages, hunger, desire to be, I think particularly African players will be so delighted to get 15 grand a week, whereas some other players might be like annoyed that they're only getting 40. So I think you can't underestimate the psychological impacts of the whole deal as well on what you're getting as a package. So I very much like the young gambles. I always do. And I've got another 8 of them on my list. Sadly, 1 or 2 of them might be out of our league, so to speak. Like, there's a left winger that I love at Salzburg, but we're not going to get him. He's £20 million. So, like Malik Fofana, who I mentioned in December, who's now been linked with Liverpool and Chelsea, we've got to find those gems earlier in their journey before they become the next star.
Before they become the £20 million player
correct.
At Lyon, right? Yeah, so finding them at the first step.
That's
and I mean,
right,
more clubs
absolutely.
are doing that, right? I can see that myself as, back in the day when I grew up, the players from the Danish Super League, the talents from FC Nordsjælland, right, to Dream Academy, Mohamed Kudus, for example. He's a brilliant player that back in the day, he took the step to Ajax. That was very normal. You go to either like a bottom German club, you go to an Eredivisie club, you go to the Belgian Pro League, and then from there you get scouted by, the Premier League clubs. Now, the clubs are going to the source, right? Your Tottenhams, your Leicesters, they're going to the Danish Super League, to the Norwegian League, to the Swedish League, and taking the talents that step earlier because they get them for a more cut price. But obviously the prices even there are rising now as more eyes are on those leagues.
Okay, so the winner of the poll is Sangari. Mamadou Sangari is the player that the viewers of BTG today's stream did vote for. That doesn't surprise me too much, only because I did agree. I do agree with the viewers.
I mean, he does look very good. I just think
if anybody's interested, just if anyone's interested, that they were the results of the poll.
See, the fact that Navarro loses to Cisse is a bit disappointing because they were very much the same player, but one was on a free and a young guy, I believe, as well. But
yeah, there's some other names in the chat that people are talking about. Are there people talking about Oscar Glock? He's way. Is that who they're talking about? Oscar Glock. He's way out.
Salt is, but I'll just say to Salt that he mentioned Jocelyn Janet at Bastia He is on my list, and I have looked at him. He looks a decent player. But at Bastia, I think he's going to probably cost you slightly. I think it's going to cost you maybe 3-4 million quid. And at that range, we've got a lot of similar type players, and it's really, I'll pick your poison. Which one do you like? And I think for that sort of 2 to 6 million range in euros that we've been looking at, I personally prefer Baradji and Sangar. Locke sadly would only give me 2 picks. But yeah, definitely there are other options out there. Claudio Gomez, Abdelou Atsan, Jocelyn Jan, you've mentioned. We signed one for Leuven. I've signed Abdul Karim Traore. It'll be one to watch from our sister club. I'd like to see how he does in the Belgian league next year. Mario Dorgeles is another one that I asked Duck about in the Danish league.
He's a good talent. He's a great talent.
Yeah, there's lots of these out there. You know, we've been linked with other wingers as well. There's another young Moroccan winger I'd like to ask Bilal about, Jonas El Abdeloui. You know, there's lots of these kids out there. There's more and more kids that want to play football. And I will maintain, look at the stars of world football today. What percentage of those stars are over 25 and what percentage of those stars are under 25 today? And when you look at the high end, whether it's Lamine Yamal winning it for Spain or Doué and some of the other players, Barcola and some of the others doing well for PSG, youth players, fast twitch players are starting to dominate this game. And we better jump on that bandwagon quickly if we want to progress before everyone else wakes up.
Just a quick one here. This was a pick from Daniel at the very start, so we'll have to look into this guy. I don't know how you pronounce his name. Stige.
Stia. It'll be probably Stia.
Do you know who this guy is, Doc?
I don't think it'll be. No, he's from Groningen. I know Groningen, they have a young centre-back called Roy Leicester. We should sign him up. Proper Leicester like that.
Well, Groningen's the Dutch league, isn't it? Because that's the north of Holland.
Yeah, that's the Dutch league.
That's where Arjen Robben came from, Groningen.
Yes, yes, it is indeed.
Someone said Noah Nazi, Danish midfielder. Can you bring that up from Delpster, LCFC? Yeah, he's a really good, raw talented player. I don't think he has the physical package, especially if we're playing in the championship. But add that to his game, and he's brilliant technically as well. Doing quite well at the U21 Euros currently with Denmark. I believe he was actually supposed to go to Brighton, who tried to get him before he was really popping off, even in the Danish Superliga. But that deal fell through at the final stages, and now he's still available for transfer.
Well, since you're talking about under 21s, Locks and I have been watching a bit of under 20s AFCON football today, and Locks is quite excited about someone that he's found. He'll talk about in the next show.
I was going to say, guys, of course, we've got the Defenders edition of the Scouting Report coming next Tuesday, and there I have found the one. He's a right back, and he is incredible. The fastest of fast twitch, that is for sure.
And I've got a centre back for you that I think you're going to love too. He is a beast of a human being. Quick, strong, bossing centre back. 24 years old, not too expensive. So make sure you tune into that show too.
But just a reminder, the winner voted for by the viewers, Mamadou Sangar. So there we go. Right, we're going to end it there. Thank you to Doc. Thank you to Manny. Thanks for the picks. I completely forgot. I did say I was going to give Michael's shout, which was Jack Rodoni from Coventry. He just keeps pulling out the shitters, doesn't he, Michael? Week after week. Nah, he seems like a good player, to be fair. But so yeah, Jack Rodoni. That was Michael's pick.
And I just want to say to Salt, because Salt always comes up with good comments and good ideas and stuff. Try and limit your search to. I mean, I put the line of 24 and under, so I'm standard looking at anybody 25 and over because I want that resale value. If it's 24, we can keep them for 2 years. At 26, you can still sell them on. If you buy them at 26 and you keep them for 2 years, 28. Transfer fee is not the same number. So if you're out there or anyone else, if you want to go out there and start doing some fast twitch homework, then get out there and find some names. I'll happily take a look at whoever you've got, and I think between us, this can be a useful exercise that we really can give the club some useful, realistic, low-wage, cheap options that we can really progress the club with.
Yeah. Salt says, can we agree now that Doc gets a 2-week ban if he brings up a Danish?
There are a few good Danish centre backs, to be honest, but
avoid the Danish defenders, Doc. Avoid the Danish defenders after our recent history. I think. Right, anyway, we're going to end it there. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Thanks to getting your comments in. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to hit subscribe. And we will see you very soon. Bye-bye.